Hello, in this video we are going to review turning fractions into decimals. We are going to rewrite each fraction as a decimal, and if possible, we're going to turn the denominator into a power of 10. Powers of 10 are when you have 10 to a power, 10 to the 0 power, 10 to the 1 power, 10 to the 2 power. Those numbers are 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000. To make it easier, you can just think of it as a place value. So for example, number 1, could we get the denominator, the 25, to be a place value, to be a 1, ones place, or a 10 for the tens place, or 100 for the hundreds place? And we can turn it into 100, like the hundreds place. If you do 25 times 4, you get 100. So you do 8 times 4 and get 32, and your fraction is 32 over 100. This is important because if you know how to say a decimal, this is 32 hundredths. So just write the decimal 32 hundredths. If you did not know how to write the decimal 32 hundredths, all you do is you put the 2 in the hundredths place. And after a decimal, you have tens place, hundreds place. You put the 2 in the hundreds place and just fill in the rest. So if you're going to do what I consider to be the easier method, you just turn your denominator into a power of 10, and then whatever the numerator is, that's going to be your decimal. But what if you cannot turn your denominator into a power of 10? For example, in number 2, the denominator is a 6. There's no whole number I can multiply 6 by and get a power of 10. So I have to do a more advanced method, which in this case really is just long division. You do need to remember that the top number goes on the inside. So the 1 goes on the inside of the long division, the 6 goes on the outside of the long division. And then you divide. 6 goes in the 1, it can't, 1 is too small. I put a 0 as a placeholder. And then I'll not look at 1, but 10. 6 goes into 10 just once. 6 times 1 is 6, and I subtract. 10 minus 6 is 4. You should get a number smaller than 6. I did, it's a 4. And since the number is smaller than 6, you bring down the next number, the 0. Now, when doing long division, a lot of people have trouble keeping things organized. So you could get like a pen or use graph paper or do something where you have vertical lines to keep yourself organized in what you're doing. So can 6 go into 40? Well, it can go in 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36, but it's too small. I have to subtract. 40 minus 36 is 4, which is good. 4 is smaller than 6. And I want my number to always be smaller than the number that's here on the outside. So I'll bring down the next number, 40, to get bigger. 6 goes into 40 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. Subtract, get 40. So I get 4. Then bring down to 0. 6 goes into 40 6 times. And at some point, you're going to start seeing a pattern. The pattern you're looking for is not up here in the answer. It doesn't happen often, but it's possible for these numbers to repeat without it actually being a repeating pattern. So what you're looking for is a pattern in your subtraction. 40 minus 36, then 40 minus 36, then 40 minus 36. If you have a repeating pattern in your subtraction, then you know you have a repeating decimal. So we have the 4 as our whole number, and the fraction, instead I'll put a decimal. And then the decimal is going to be a 1.6666666. The 6 is repeating. So I'll write 1.6 repeating. And that would be our final answer. So again, to turn a fraction into a decimal, first see if you can turn your denominator into a power of 10. If you can, then your numerator is just going to be your decimal part, starting with whatever place value you have in your denominator. If your denominator cannot become a power of 10, then you have to do long division to figure out what your decimal or what your decimal is going to be.